You want me to hit yours?
Yes, we are live. We are live today. Welcome to How to Build Your Own Home live chat every Thursday and Friday. You know, actually Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. I was just thinking before, I've already got Friday on the brain right now. I was just thinking that we are probably the only father-daughter YouTube team out there in the construction industry. What do you think?
You think?
I think so.
I don't know. Oh, for YouTube?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably for YouTube.
Probably for YouTube. So we've got a lot of great videos coming on. Kinsey's going to do a lot of special videos. We have a brainstorm session on Thursdays, and we came up with some really cool things, helping you understand costs and budgeting and a lot of things like that. Mm-hmm. You should know that about this time between the middle of January all the way through like May, we get a huge uptick with a lot of people subscribing, a lot of people coming to the website at howtobuildyourownhome.com, because that's where a lot of owner builders are. They start in the winter and they start planning. They're getting ready to break ground, and we see a huge uptick on that. So we're going to be doing a lot of posts relative to getting in the whole arena of owner building. And we have also a lot of general contractors who come on board, especially newbies. People are wanting to break into the trade, and they come here. So we have a really interesting segment of the population, a lot of people. And maybe one of these days we can talk about those analytics. Kind of interesting. We're going to talk today about budgeting and appraisals and lending, just a general rule. And we'll start with an interesting email. I got tons of emails from students. One of them kind of starts us off in that direction. Here's the question here. This is from, and I promised them that I would answer their questions. These are students that really would love to be in a live chat, but they couldn't be here. So we're going to take this and they'll come back and watch the live chat later on. And this is from Jerry. And she asks, I'm a new member. I'm learning a lot. And I have a financing question that I hope you could give me your thoughts on. My house flipper friend said that I should not get a construction loan, but should self-finance 75% of the building and get a home equity loan on the home I am building to do the final finish work. I thought that is hard to get a loan on a house after you break ground. What are your thoughts on this? A HELOC would be cheaper. I'm in Northeast Tennessee, where there are a few building codes, which is kind of nice to have. Being in that rural area is kind of nice. Couple of thoughts with regard to that. I should have a broker on. I have a really good friend, and maybe we can have him on in a week or two. He indicated a couple of very interesting ideas. I won't bring them up because it doesn't answer her question, but it did give a solution for some clients of mine that I'm actually working with right now. If you can cash flow something as long as you possibly can, that's actually a good thing. I don't recommend leaving or spending all your cash flow. I was just talking with my son and about this, and always trying to keep, a rainy day fund. That's always just smart, 6 months of cash, so you can at least keep afloat if things change in your life. But if you do have the cash, and if you can cash flow it, do that as long as you can, but keep track of all the receipts. Okay. If you don't keep track of the receipts, then it's very hard to show that you put that money into the whole home. And the way you do that is you use the program we have, How to Build Your Own Home. And one of these days, McKinsey ought to go through just a general primer of that budget we have, because our budget allows you to track expenditures. And the sooner you start tracking that and you have the actual copies of the receipts, copies of all the checks, the better. All right. We've got my granddaughter right here. She's eating right now. And so it's a good thing. But when it comes to loans, talk with a financial person about that. I know HELOCs are great. They're typically a little lower interest rate, if I'm correct on some of those. And also what's interesting, I talked with, there's a new program I just learned about that you can actually get. I don't recommend this, but it was kind of interesting. If you're 62 and over, you can get a reverse mortgage. But let's say you take out $300,000, but you don't take out half of it. The first half of it you use if you need it to finish the home, but the other half of it is now earning a higher interest because it's kind of interesting. But you want to research all kinds of stuff out there. Sometimes you don't know until you just talk, until you get out there and find out what you can and cannot do. I've had people put money into, like, if they've sold their home, but they weren't going to build for 6 months, they put their money into a money market account or a CD. There's all kinds of ways you can put money that is earning a better return for you than just sitting under the mattress or a regular savings account. So when it comes to cashing flow your home, that's always a plus. But here's something to think about, and I'll kind of go on to the next question. The biggest thing you can cash flow is the most beneficial. So let's say, for example, you're going to build a home. You cash flow the land. You purchase the land like we did.
Mm-hmm.
You pay off the land. How long did that take?
A year.
About a year, paid off the land. Then we got, what did we get done after that?
Excavation.
Excavation. What else did we get done?
Oh, like our planning, architectural, engineering, permit.
And the geotech and the
geotech,
permit.
Yep.
We did some other stuff too. Remember it? Let's see if she remembers.
Septic permit.
Septic. What else?
There
was a big one there. $5,000. Remember that
Are
one?
you talking about the fire?
Fire fee.
The fire fee.
We paid a fire fee, $5,000. All right. So we were
It was
able to
more
do.
than our permit.
It was more than our permit, if you can believe that. So, because we're in a high mountain area where we were building.
Mhm.
And so if you can cash flow some of that stuff, one of them was excavation, which was $90,000. And we had it in the budget, but we did that ourselves since we were able to save. And if you could cash flow up to getting the shell completed, foundation, shell, and even the roof, guess what you can do after that? Take your time.
Take your time.
You can't take your time when you've got lumber sitting on the job site. You've got to get that done. But if you can't cash flow that, at least you can cash flow all that. You track it, keep records of it. Then when you go to an actual lender, you show that this is all money down on the home, while you've got more than your 20% down. But if I had my druthers and I had some good money, I'd try to cash flow up through the framing structure, get it all sealed up, protected. And then I would take my time, because then 1 or 2 months later, I could do maybe some mechanical. Another month later, I could do some plumbing. And then I could really almost get a house paid for. But again, that takes a little more cash than what most people have. But if you can save up to getting all that preliminary stuff done, because if you don't have to wrap that into a loan, that's just great. You want to get a loan, if you have to, for the actual physical construction of the home, rather than all that preliminary cost, because that preliminary cost can be kind of daunting. So anyway, I hope that answers your question. To talk with a lender and see about them. Let's get these other two out of the way real quick. This one here is from Jenna. She says, my husband and I purchased a self-managed course, and we're underway with the build and starting to look for financing to build our home for our first build. We used our cash to get us as far as we can. However, we're having trouble finding lenders who will give us I didn't print out the rest of it. Give us a loan because we are an owner builder and because the construction has already started. We're seeing there are certain lenders who will do a construction loan, and then we can refinance into a mortgage. However, the interest rate on the construction loan is 11%. That's really high. I wouldn't take a loan for 11%. You don't need to do that. You have to shop around. Now, as long as you've documented receipts on everything, you can prove that you've actually put that into the home, and also that you can actually show pictures that, yeah, all this construction work has taken place on the home. There are some lenders who can work what's called a bridge loan. It's very rare, and they'll give you a loan that will bridge you to permanent financing. So look around with banks, especially with credit unions, for a bridge loan. I worked in the nonprofit sector, and I did bridge loans all the time. They get us from here to there. A regular construction loan may not work, or permanent financing may not work, because the total equity that they want to finance and protect isn't there yet. So a bridge loan is designed to help you to get from here to there. That'd be a really good good industry to get into. If somebody had $50 billion and they wanted to create a bridge loan company for lending, that'd be pretty cool. Wouldn't that be?
$50 million.
I don't know how much it takes to get a mortgage company. So anyway, look into bridge loans on that one and keep looking around. If you are rural, look into USDA. That's a possibility. And also look into as locally owned bank as possible. Don't go to national banks. You're not going to get help. Go to a local bank or a local credit union. Okay. Let's go to the last one here. This one here is from Adam. And he says, hello, I've been watching your YouTube channel for a while now, but I found your channel through search reviews on OmniBlock. I'm writing you to see if you have any recent reviews on the OmniBlock system, either good or bad. I am preparing work with an architect in the Northeast U.S. to build a custom home, and I'm interested in using OmniBlock. As an industry expert, I just wanted your opinion on this building product and technology. If you can get OmniBlock manufactured as close to you as possible, it possibly could be good. The benefit of the Northeast is you've got a better access to masons than we do. A lot of the homes back east, a lot of them were masons that built them. And there's a lot of masonry in those homes. And you're going to have a lot of restoration projects using masonry and classical frame structure masons, or what I would call construction or commercial grade masons who know how to do lentils and headers and bond beams and all that kind of stuff. So if you can find a mason, and if the OmniBlock is really, really close to you, it would be a real plus, especially if you're close to the, I don't know where you were, if you're really close to the coast, that'd be a real plus for you. But to look for those two things first, and how close it is and what the delivery cost is going to be to get there, and if you can find a mason. And if you can, it's a great building product, and especially the closer you are to the coast, and especially if you're going to face northeasters and a lot of high wind, hurricane winds, and bad winds coming from over the Arctic. So so look at those things first. Okay, let's take some questions. I know we got a lot chiming in here. We'll start with Kevin Garrett. Question: when does T-pole become convo? I don't know what that means by that. And where would you install it? I know some contractors become clever with T-poles. I don't know what he means by T-poles.
I don't know what a T-pole is.
I know. Can you explain what a T-pole is? And if you can, we'll come back to that question. Okay. Kai Hoon, which trade is typically responsible for installing the foundation drain, radon piping, and waterproofing for the foundation and slab? The radon is your ventilation contractor. They would know a lot about that. And then the foundation drain would be your excavator. It will not be the foundation crew. The foundation crew is going to be those with forms and concrete, and they will not be doing a drain. So it's three different people there. Waterproofing will be your concrete crew or your excavation crew. You can ask around and see which one will do that for you. But again, foundation is concrete and radon is HVAC and ventilation crew. But if they are going to give you a costly bid, radon is a very simple thing. You just get a perforated pipe. You know those styrofoam bubbles? And it's a perforated pipe with styrofoam bubbles wrapped in another perforated skin of some kind. They put it under the slab and they put a vent under that sucker, and it goes right up a chase into the home all the way to the roof. And if you're smart, you can do that yourself, as long as it's under the foundation substrate, not just under the concrete, but below the grade, because that's where all the radon gas can come up through that grade, hits the top of that foundation. You don't want it to happen. You want it to find a pipe that's somewhere in the middle of that slab, and it'll vent up. Okay. Anyway, next question. Josh, have you installed Anderson windows in Cedar City or higher elevation before? Do you order them with breather tubes? HD is telling me they don't need tubes, but local window places say they do. I would talk to the local building official, and if they have any insight on that. I honestly don't know what you mean by tubes. So if you can get some explanation as to tubes, are you talking about backer rods, or I don't know what you're talking about? Breather tubes.
The weep holes.
Could be the weep holes you're talking about.
I don't know.
All windows have to come with them, and it's on the bottom of the window. So if that's what you're talking about, it's automatic with windows, and it's in the bottom seal of all windows.
Mhm.
In fact, that's how you tell which way the window should go, by looking at the weep holes on
But I
that.
don't know what a breather tube is.
I think that's a weep hole. I think
Okay.
what he's talking about is weep hole.
The T pole is telephone pole. You
Oh,
wanna go back up to
T-
that
yeah,
one?
go back up to that T-phone.
Okay.
Question, did telephone pole become a convo? I don't know what I mean by convo. Where would you install it? It depends on if you're going underground or overhead with your power. And typically there's, that telephone pole is not owned by you. It's owned by the telephone company, and you basically lease it to them. But you can tell them you don't want it in front of your house. It should be on the corner, one of the corner lots. And you either loop it overhead, and if it's really, really far away and it can't loop that far and there's trees in the way, you want to go underground. I go underground on most of mine.
Can't you always go underground?
You can. I always
Is it
push
just more expensive to go underground?
It's a little more money. It's a little
'Cause-
messier,
yeah.
but it's cleaner.
We always go underground.
We always go underground.
Yeah.
So just find out how far away that needs to be. And typically the maximum is about 150 feet before you start to lose power. Just keep in mind, the further that wire goes, the less power you're going to have by the time it gets to the meter panel. Talk with an electrician or the actual power company, and they'll give you some feedback on that. Okay.
Back to the breather tubes are capillary tubes.
That's the same thing as a weep hole. It's a capillary tube. That's a weep hole. It's to flush out ventilation inside the window so that it doesn't get inside the double pane.
So yes, you
So-
should have it.
It should have it. And that's all pretty much code with a lot of windows, that and a thermal break. But Anderson windows shouldn't be a problem, and you can get those in a lot of spots. So just talk to a supplier and find out. I know you can get them at a lot of box stores. Leanne, for waterproofing a basement, do you prefer the liquid membrane or the peel and stick liquid? I would never do the peel and stick. I'm not having a lot of good comments on the peel and stick product. And it's just a good tar product, but just keep in mind, you want to get it down by the cold pour joint. And when your excavator backfills, try not to let him backfill rock against it, because it scrapes against it and then it destroys the membrane. So if they can backfill very gently, and if you can get some gravel or even some pea gravel and just gently put it against there, that way water's just going to go straight down and away. But it's that cold pour joint at the bottom. You want to make sure you cover that up. Okay, next question. John Pope. Sounds like a Catholic priest or something. That's a cool name. John Pope the 14th. Have you ever seen condensation on the underside of north-facing roof sheeting? Full sun on the south side, minimal sun on the north side. Yeah, what's happening is that sun is hitting that, or at least during the day, that roof is warming up. And then during the evening, what happens is that there's air coming through that, and that air has water molecules in it, and then it's hitting that surface, and that surface is warm just for a little bit, and then it's collecting those particulates, water molecules on the bottom side of that. Is it a finished home or is it not a finished home? I'm thinking it's probably a finished home. I don't know what's underneath, but there's a collision of warm air and cold air, and that you could possibly have a leak in your house somewhere. I don't know, but if there's heat hitting cold, that's where you have the condensation that takes place. Like this, if I put ice water in this, within just 5 minutes, I'd have water on the outside of this, because that cold is colliding with the warm in the air here. So there could be a leak, and it could be a dryer vent, or it could be a bathroom vent that's coming out through the eave, and it's condensating on the underside of that. Somewhere heat is getting out onto that eave part, and it's condensating underneath that eave. So look at all that. And it could be just buried in the attic. You could be having, I've seen people do this. I got into a home remodel. It's the 358 home. And I came up into it, and they had a dryer vent blowing into the attic for almost 2 decades. And there was just crap everywhere. I don't know if I can say that word on YouTube, but it was just garbage lint everywhere. So when we remodeled the home, we took all these vents and took them out to the eaves, and they were all properly insulated. So look at where heat's exiting the home. That's probably your issue. David B. or Try V. Thanks for the great info. Any recommendations for cabinet vendors in Southern Utah? You want us? I'll let Kinsey make a comment. She's dealt with a lot more of them than I have.
My two favorite cabinet companies, if you need someone a little more affordable, still great quality, Peppermint Cabinets here in town. And then for, I think the best quality, they're a little more pricey, Venuti Woodworking. They're awesome. They're great to work with. So those are my two favorites, just depending on my budget. Those are the two people I like to use. So,
and mention you heard them from Kel's Construction. Don't say how to build your own home because they won't know what that is.
yeah.
But mention Kel's Construction, and the people at Peppermint will treat you very well. They're a fellow Kelch, distant related, but great people there. So check them out. On a side note, I'm investigating cabinets overseas just for the heck of it. I'll let you know what I find out in the coming weeks. So. Josh, do gas companies, now my glasses work better at a distance. I don't know. I never even realized that. I was constantly going like that. From here I can read. Do gas companies charge for the meter and run to the house? Yes, they do. What do you think about going all electric and not running gas if using mini splits in heating pump or tankless water heaters? Don't go tankless on electric. That's not going to be because there's elements and they run out and they have problems. And we don't have the technology that a lot of tankless companies have in Europe. I won't go into any detail, but we don't make them as well here. We have too much gas. So our tankless gas water heaters are superior to just about any other tankless water heaters that are out there on the market. And then the thing is when you're building a home, just bring it in. Do you know how cheap gas lines is to have a subcontractor bring gas into a home?
Yeah.
It's
all the roughing. It's really affordable.
It's
and
not
then
that expensive.
Even if you had to get a propane tank, that's really, well, at least ours here in Southern Utah, it's really affordable.
So if you ever resell it and you can't say that there's gas, you want to bring it and stub it to the stove, because I don't like to cook on electric. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
And most people that are really good cooks, my wife is a phenomenal cook. She couldn't stand cooking on electric. And so that's a big factor. And then dryers heat up great with gas. And then a fireplace if you want to have some ambiance and having gas. And gas is typically in our neck of the woods, in the Intermountain Rocky Mountain area, gas is cheaper than electric, except for a few outlying areas. So bring it in, even if you may not use it in a lot of those areas. It's going to just be valuable to your home over time. Okay, all right, Maria, 28. My mom wants to redo her wooden deck, back deck this spring. She lives in Missouri and something like Trex, but I have heard bad things about Trex. What alternative company can you recommend?
What are Trex? Is that
it's the compressed wood with plastic on it.
Oh, yeah.
I'll let Kinsey make it.
No,
we've been researching.
Wait, is it covered or? Well, it doesn't
No,
matter.
Trex is not covered, so the water comes right through it.
Oh, so it goes through it. You explain, because you're the deck expert. We're going through this right now, trying to find the best decking product, because we have a wraparound deck that we're trying to do, but ours is covered.
Here's the thing you want to think about. Do you want water underneath the deck at all? That's the first thing to think about. If it's high up and you want storage underneath there, but you don't want snow and water underneath that, then that tells you want a permanent full membrane on your deck. Does that make sense? I don't recommend exposed decks where water can get down. Now, there's a lot of treatments and things you can do to protect the rafters and the floor system and all that, but you're still going to have weathering. You're still going to have damage and destruction. And I'm not a fan of Trex. I'm sorry. The UV just does a number on them. And then over time they flake and they eventually swell and you've got a problem. It's not a lasting product. I'm more in favor of a full membrane covered deck, which means it's 3/4 inch subfloor, just like you would do an inside. You bring it outside, but you cover it with all kinds of membrane products. We need to do a video on this. So we're going to do a video on all the deck products we found and why we just bid them out. We've seen them at $29,000, $20,000, $5,000, $10,000. We've seen all kinds of products, and Kinsey will do a post on this. I'll make her do it.
Okay.
On a beautiful deck that we'll be doing here in a couple of weeks. But look for some membrane products. We found one we liked, and it's called Flex Stone. You can just research it. It's the most affordable, and a good painter should be able to apply it. Any painter who applies an epoxy floor to a garage should be able to use this product and apply it to a deck. So called Flex Stone. It's one of them we looked into. Just check it out. And then we'll do a longer video that goes into detail on all the deck. We wanted a really phenomenal decking product, but it was just too costly for us. But we'll be probably doing it on another home. So good question. Philip, I can see better from way back here. As a first-time owner builder, what would your recommendation to get the most accurate pricing estimates for your initial budget? Okay.
Get multiple.
First of all, you need to take the First Steps course, and it's a surprise you on that one, huh?
Oh, Kinsey's wrong.
Wrong. Kinsey's wrong. The First Steps course, the third module in that, actually helps you find out what the cost is going to be per square foot in your area for a new home, a comparable home that's equal to what you're looking to build in for yourself. That module, number 3, do it 3 to 4 to 5 times. That's going to first tell you what the rough cost is in your area. And then after that, you want to get 2-3 bids if you can with subcontractors in your particular area. So the more bids you get, the more accurate you're going to be. Then when you're experienced, we'll get one bid and we go, oh, that's good. Let's go with them. You know, and plus we know them.
Yep.
And then the self-managed project you have.
Yeah, and then the self-managed course, it's itemized, meaning that I have a download section in the self-managed course that allows you to cut and paste actual language you can send to framers, concrete people, excavation people, the whole 9 yards. And you can add to it and delete what you want. It's a specifications for bidding. It's in the download section. And that I really focused on the heavy hitters. I didn't get into the finished stuff because that's so different from builder to builder, owner to builder, owner builder to owner builder. So look at that in the download section, and it's going to help you a lot. The more specified you're going to be in requesting a bid, the better off. And remember, don't call yourself an owner builder. Get an email, a phone email that has builder in it, or development association, whatever, something that gives you the impression that you are an experienced builder. And go to Fiverr.com and pay somebody $20 to create a logo for you and put it inside your signature page. And they think you're a builder. So it works. Trust me, it works. Okay. For the windows question, capillary breather tubes are used when the manufacturer of the windows is at low elevation and installed at high elevation to prevent deflection, but you don't get argon gas. I wouldn't do it without the argon gas. Other brands that are manufactured local don't need capillary to be installed. Seal them at the same atmospheric pressure elevation as where they will be installed. I've never found that to be an issue. I've built in at 7,000 feet and I've built at 1,700 feet. I would want the argon gas, and there's reasons for that. It actually acts as a mini thermal break inside the window, and it keeps those two pieces of glass from touching. And so that is pretty powerful. And to not have that, I wouldn't necessarily recommend that. And you can get, when it comes to windows, you can be hypersensitive, hyper neurotic when it comes to windows. And you can get all these particulars about windows, and it doesn't really transfer into an actual measurable value in the home, does it? All right, windows now are far more superior than they were in the 70s and 80s. Just go look at a home that was built in the 70s. What is it? Aluminum windows. Is there any thermal break in that window? No. You can touch that metal on the inside, and it's super cold if it's super cold on the outside. But if it's a modern window, you can touch that frame, and you're not going to feel that cold. Now, you're still going to feel it on the glass. All right, but that's just something that goes with the territory of a home, which is why we put vents above windows to help offset that cold wicking inside the home. And the more windows you can put on the south to take in some heat during the summer months, winter months, the better. So it's those winter months that you have to design a home intelligently for southern exposure. If you're
And summer months, if you live in the desert, you
Yeah.
have to prepare for the summer months.
you have to prepare for summer months as well. But that sun is up higher. So if you
Yeah.
have an eave that's down, below, then that's like our sun, you can capture it. If I moved a little further here, I can capture it.
They can't
I was
see
going to
that.
go into a long
They can't
science
see
on
that.
it.
Okay.
So just take a compass to your job site, and it'll tell you where north and south and east west, and that's going to tell you a lot. And go out there in the middle of the day and look at a tree branch and see where it's casting the shadow. Just get some stuff like that. It's going to tell you a lot about how to orient your home. Okay. Next question. Doppler. I'm having a home built in central Kentucky. My contractor said there will be no insulation or vapor barrier in the crawl space. Should have him insulate and vapor barrier the crawl space. Well, the insulation is what I'm worried about, especially on the floorboards. And he's going to have to ventilate that because you're in a high humidity environment. And so if he's not going to ventilate that, you're going to be in trouble. You're going to build up all kinds of yucky stuff underneath there. But the insulation is what I'm most worried about. And I would recommend a mineral wool product because it's really stiff. It fits up in there and it's mold proof and fireproof and all the good stuff qualities to it. And it's not going to sag, especially if you install it right. But I wouldn't do a batting material, even if it's an R30 in there. It sags. It's not rigid. It's hard to hold in place. It's not something I'd recommend. I'd recommend something that's really better designed for all that. Plus, it's going to affect the sound quality in the home. You're not going to rattle when you walk inside there, and you'll feel that cold floor. If you got vents in your crawl space, which you should in that area, you will feel that cold floor. You don't want to feel that. Okay. All right. Next one. By the way, that's the only area I'd recommend for spray foam is under a floorboard like that. It's the only place I'm okay with it. Maybe someday I'll talk about why. Retrainer. Thanks for the great info. Any recommendations on a great window brand model for a passive solar house? Something affordable, reliable, and common enough where the manufacturer will be around to help. Zone 4A. Okay. There's a brand called Simonson Windows I like, and you can get them at a box store. I think the Depot Hot box store. And the reason why I like them is they take care in packaging them, so they can drop ship them directly to your home. But when they get there, the flange is completely protected. And one thing I don't like is if you're having windows delivered in a cold environment, the flange tends to snap and break. And then you lose that coverage, you lose that seal around the window. And so they take extra care in that when they package them and ship them to your home. And the whole flange is in perfect shape. To me, that's a plus as an installer. And then they're super affordable. And some of these windows at a lot of the box stores, if you hit them just right, you can get 10, 15, 25% off at various times. Go into those box stores and ask them, when do you typically have sales? And ask them. Plus, there's local suppliers as well that may be tied to a manufacturer who's closer to you. You may want to find out there, but get prices everywhere. Believe it or not, when I priced windows on a recent home, I was down around $33,000 as high as $144,000. It's nuts. Windows are just all over the place. And so as long as they have a thermal break, they got a weep hole in there, they got some argon gas, they got double pane is a big plus. But keep in mind, fiberglass and vinyl are kind of on a different arena than aluminum. Aluminum can be bigger windows because they handle the bigger weight. So you got to talk forever on this. And we'll talk some more as we've got several builds coming up. We'll do a lot of posts on windows. To shop around and go to the stores and get some bids. Okay. ZT Yang, do you use pre-cut studs for standard 8 or 9 ceiling? Is it more precise to measure and cut to size due to concrete surface roughness? If it's got an undulation in the concrete, your guys are going to have to cut anyway. So that's why they have the 2 inches extra on the typical stud frame, and then they can cut to fit perfectly. And that's what I do on most of my builds. Some of my builds, I put my framer in charge of selecting the lumber. And if it's a 10-foot wall and he sees that slab is really in nice shape, he's going to go with pre-cut, and he's going to save himself some time. but you trust in your framer and let them make that decision, and you'll be better off for it. So.
Nice.
Okay, Chris Vitz. I can't believe how much I can see far back. I never even thought about that. Crazy. How do I get a construction loan as an owner builder? Do I need to purchase land first, or can that be incorporated into the loan? How much down payment, etc.? You'll need about 20%, but check with the bank. I wouldn't be able to confirm that. Typically, I like to go with the land first, and the banks are more apt to lend on the land than on a full construction loan. And why is that? Because you have more skin in the game. The more skin you can come to the bank with, over 20%, then that is in their favor, and they're more apt to lend to you. And then in my program, I just emailed a student 2 days ago in the self-managed course download section. There's a letter to lenders. If you're having issues, take that letter and give it to the lender. It explains the whole program, the budget, the organizational structure, the checklist, everything you need to manage your own build. And when you go in to actually get the loan, they'll see that budget and they'll go, wow, this guy's better organized than a lot of builders. I'm serious. They will see that. So take that letter to your lenders. It's in the download section in the self-managed course. Okay, it's going to be, I've had students get back to me and said, hey, we used the letter and they gave us a loan after originally rejecting them. They went in and showed them that they're organized and they've got some training and some resources, and they were impressed. So sometimes it works. I can't guarantee it all the time, but it has worked for some. Leanne, do you think Canadian tariffs will affect lumber costs? Not right now. Trump has actually given a 30-day moratorium on that, as long as Canadians stop the fentanyl from coming across the borders. Watch the legalese of that really, really carefully, and see if they actually do get an agreement. And I think it's in Canada's best interest to have that no tariffs. So this is where you have to watch politics as well as economics and lumber futures and all that. So watch it carefully. But right now, for the next 30 days, the tariffs have been on a delay or a hold until they actually get that agreement in place. So be fair. Good question, though. Good question. Okay, Robert, I passed mechanical inspection. I'm really worried about covering things up. Maybe it's psychological, but I'm stressed about covering up stuff that may have been done wrong. Congratulations. Welcome to the world.
Good job.
Congratulations. Go take a video of it all. If it's 2-story, and let's say it's 800 square feet down, slowly take a video of everything. All right. And then stop and then turn on the video camera again, go upstairs and take a video of everything. That has saved my bacon a ton. All right. I did some very high-end homes up north. We couldn't find a gas line. I opened up my phone. There was a video. Oh, there it is. And it's right there. If you drill a hole right there, you're going to find it. He drilled the hole and he grabbed it. All right. So it's not going to be as scary as you think, as long as you have a record of where everything is. And that's a big, big thing to do, is make sure you take a video. Even a lot of pictures. But video is good because it gets around stuff. And make sure you look all the way around, all the mechanical, and you'll be able to grab it. Okay. Right?
Yep.
Okay. Next question. Brian E. McGeaney. Did I say that right? McGeaney. I plan on 300 square foot excavation extension with unfinished basement below. What is the best way to get a plan architect to get a builder pad? Thanks, Brian.
Or get a builder plan.
Or get a builder plan. Just take the self-managed course, and we've got drafts people in the hopper, and they're really good and they're really affordable. And check them out. We've got Glenna, we got Lonnie, and others that are there, and they'll help you out. Reach out. They're helping a lot of our students. I'm surprised. I got an email from somebody about a week ago and says, "Hey Keith, we just got our plans done from Lonnie." I go, "What?" Didn't even know, and I didn't even know what's going on behind the scenes. But I just wanted to show you what he did for us. And I had a quick question, and I answered his quick question for him, help him out. But take the self-managed course. Look at the download section. It's called Architects and Engineers and Suppliers, blah, 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 resources. And just download that And we've got some draftspeople in the program that are phenomenal.
Mhm.
Okay. Josh, when do you finish a covered deck surface that will be sealed like epoxy? You can't epoxy a deck. I'll explain why in a second.
So
And
it's
Cedar
like
said
epoxy though.
it's like epoxy. In Cedar City, so I covered it with plastic for now in case of snow. Also, what product do you recommend? You want to recommend a product?
It's the same. It's pretty much what you just said about the deck. So
Yeah.
what's that product that it's the Flex Stone?
Yeah, Flex Stone. Check it out. It's actually a product I found that was manufactured and designed for high issue homes with cold in Canada, but it's now manufactured in California. So that's why I liked it. Flex Stone, check them out. I need to do a promo on them and see if they'll do a trade for us or something.
Yeah, but we're using Flex Stone, and we waterproofed our deck, but we haven't put the Flex Stone on because we're anticipating snow as well. So
yeah, and you can just put some.
Will his plastic be okay?
Plastic's fine as long as it doesn't flap open until you can get that. But I just put some regular roof product that's liquid applied on there. I did a video. It's a product. It's going to be on a video in a couple of weeks, but we actually sealed the bottom of the transition of the foundation of the home with the product that I use for a membrane on decks as a quick way to protect it. So you have a year to deal with it later on. So watch for that video to come out.
And to actually answer your question, I like to do it at the end. I like to wait till all the exterior finish people are done. And then I like to do the deck because I don't want people walking on it, having a chance to mess it up. So I like to save it for closer to the end.
But if you have a full 3/4 inch subfloor, this wafer board, it can get destroyed with excessive moisture on it. So we wouldn't hurt because it's high mountain altitude home, and we covered it with a decking primer product real quick with some felt, and it took care of it for a long time. Now we're going to get the finish product on it. Okay, next question. Sunshine, we have a covered concrete wraparound porch in our design, 1450 square feet living space, Western Washington. Thought was we didn't want to worry about maintenance.
That's nice.
That's nice. All right, just make sure that's got a 1/4 inch slope away from the home and make sure it's rebarred into the foundation so it's not going to fall away, and you should be fine.
That's awesome.
Awesome. Okay. Easy to snow shovel too. Squatchamarley, wish you were in my town. It depends on where you are. I could wish that too. I'd hire you immediately. Going to have blueprint in a week. Done survey on geotech. Not sure about getting a loan. Thanks. Just keep researching, and you'll find something. But you're doing the right thing. You're getting one thing out of the way, and that's showing that you're disciplined and then showing that you're hot to trot and you know what you're talking about. So, congratulations.
Yeah, awesome.
Okay. Jim Murray, do you need a geotechnical report for a 5-acre plot in Tennessee? It seems that the state reviews the soil for the septic permit. I have a high density soil map, Montevallo soils. Whatever your building department is going to ask you. All right. Now I know that in some places in North Carolina, even in Western Tennessee, they're so rural that they're not even sophisticated on soils issues. So they may not even ask for it. However, the perk test or the septic test, that's going to be required. And so if the state's handling that, they may have you dig down 2-3 feet, I don't know, and get a proctor of that soil, send it to them, and they'll tell you what kind of septic system you have to use. And that may only be the thing you need to do. But I don't know if you need structural proctoring. And so you might talk with your local building official and ask them. That's going to be your telltale sign. I know I'm mentoring students in Texas, and some places there don't even ask for structural engineered plans. I don't recommend that, but that's how loosey-goosey some county jurisdictions are. All right. Major metropolitan areas, not that way. Okay.
Next.
Okay, this is a continued from this Squatcha.
Okay. Squatchamar, they continue trying to do as much as possible myself before getting a loan. Just not sure about timing. How do you get the loan if you don't know exactly what costs will be? Thanks. Get to know what the costs are. Take the first steps course first. That will tell you what your market is, and then go to the self-managed course, and then you can start to build based upon what the cost per square foot is in your area. And once you've got that under your belt and you've got the home and the design you want that fits you within your economics, then you go out and then you can get it budgeted, but it's not really a formal budget. It could be a rough budget based upon a lot of study. Then you go to the bank and see what you qualify for. And if you should probably find that out first without a hard pull. It'd be good to know because you don't want to be doing all that design work. And if you know you only qualify for $350, then you go around and see what's available that's being sold, if there is any new homes for that price point. But again, that First Steps course, trust me, that First Steps course is really going to help you. So take that. Okay. How to build your own home, First Steps course.
It's there. Okay.
Right there. That's the website. Okay. DB Douglas. I own acreage with 3+ connected parcels. If I built a structure, does it have to follow the setback rules from the property lines I own too? No, it's only going to be the setback for the property you are building on. Okay. But keep in mind, if you have 3 acres, could those acres be separated and parsed out? And I've dealt with this on some other people before, and they try to build a home on 3, 5, 10, 15 acres. Then they want to try to separate it. They can't, because the bank is not going to let it go, especially if there's a loan on it. So if you're going to do any separation of land, do it before you close on the construction loan. Separate that out so it's still in your hands, free to do what you want, and then you can merge it back with that property if you want to, back in that plat or whatever, after you've paid it off. So you don't need to give the bank everything, is all I'm saying. Okay. Next question. Park and Ash. Hey, Parker. Any suggestions for a pre-construction appraisal, especially in an area where there are a few new construction comps, and when the construction method is non-traditional, ICF, etc. Yeah, take the First Steps course and then take the self-managed course. In the self-managed course, there's a sheet that says specifications for appraisal. Okay, I just had a student email me theirs, and I gave some feedback on it, and they had a bullet list that long. It had probably 40 different items they're going to do to that home. Everything from wainscoting, the insulation, the roof, all that. Some nice quality selections. And you give that to the appraiser, and you tell them the square footage of the home, and you tell them the value and all that. They have to be educated. If they think that this is just going to be a cheap builder grade home and you're not going that route, you need to educate them. All right. Because otherwise they're just going to do a square footage and compare on everything else that's out there, but not see what you're doing. For example, I just built a home. We did 1.5 inches of rigid mineral wool insulation on the outside of the home. I have to tell my appraiser, this is what we did. This is the value we did. This is a better product. It's going to help fight off fires, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And if they're not educated on the quality you're trying to bring to the table, then they're not going to care. You have to force them to care. And that specifications for appraisal should go to the bank, and they have to give that to the appraiser. You can't give it to them directly. The bank has to give that to them in your behalf.
The bank can't talk to the appraiser.
Yeah, the bank doesn't talk to the appraiser. It's kind of a random situation.
In the house.
Yeah. And you can leave it in the house. My wife had a good idea. Leave that in the house so when they show up, it's there.
Yeah.
Or send it with the plans,
Yeah.
because the appraiser will make an appraisal based upon the plans and that list of specifications. Okay. Okay. Next one. How much time we got? Oh, we got a few more minutes. Okay. Charles Keys, SR. How do you handle the bookkeeping for owner builder? Kinsey's
How
question.
do you handle bookkeeping? Oh my
Folder.
gosh. Okay. I have I don't know where to start. Okay. First of all, it's not, it depends if you're if you like digital version or a paper version. I do both. I have a binder that I print every single invoice that I pay, and I put my invoices together to create draws. So I have all that documentation in a binder. And then I have the same format digitally also in our drive. But What do I,
Yeah,
how
it's
do I
all-
elaborate? Like, it's such a broad question. Like
The
I use,
binder is the easiest. That's what we did.
oh,
Yeah,
that's what you did
Yeah.
for your first?
Yep.
Oh, okay. And yeah, that's the easiest, is just printing every invoice that comes in. Before I set up our system, my dad actually, he would have the invoice, and then once it was time for him to pay the invoice, he would just put the check on top, make a copy so it showed that he paid that invoice with the check on it, and then he would file it in his binder. So that's a really good starter way to do it, because it just shows proof of every invoice and the check that you sent. And I mean, as much documentation as you can, that's the best in my opinion. So yeah, the more you can document, the better. Oh, here, let me help you. There you
Okay. That's one of my drafts person, and she's calling me. She should know that I'm on live chat right now. Yeah, you can keep it simple. You can make it sophisticated, but we've got it all designed and ready to rock and roll at howtobuildyourownhome.com. And so the budget that we've put together, we had an actual CPA look at it and go over it. I've used it on over 100 homes, but it has 2 pages, the actual budget, and then all the draws that follow after that. You just go to the Excel file and hit on the draws, and you can record and document all of that for yourself. It's pretty slick. And then we have a draw sheet that you just simply track total spent thus far, total spent on this draw, and then you tabulate it all. It's pretty quick, pretty slick.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that hard. Once you get the first one done, it's a system, and you figure it out, and you'll do it 18 to 25 times
Mm-hmm.
in the course of a build.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. Can I use QuickBooks? Yes, for for inputting your invoices and writing checks. Yeah, I do everything through QuickBooks. But I'm trying to think. Yeah, I do everything through QuickBooks. That's I do it too. But to actually I don't know how to answer. Sorry, my brain.
You did fine. And if you do have an accountant and you're running this through an LLC, they can handle all that for you later on.
I guess I need a more specific question, because bookkeeping is just so broad. Sorry. But yes, I use QuickBooks and I use Google Drive and I use Excel, and that's what we use for our documentation.
We have video instruction on all that that I've gone through. One of these days I'll make my daughter do those videos. But the video instructions all there. Just go to How to Build Your Own Home in the self-managed package. It's all there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. EM, that's a cool name. I would like to build my own home, but it likely won't happen for another 3 to 4 years. Should I take the first course now or wait a couple of years? Thanks. Now take the first course
now,
and then you'll have access to that during that whole time. You can always redo those courses and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But it really helps you wire your brain in the right way, and it helps you see what real cost is.
Yeah.
So take that course. It's 12, 13 modules, and then make sure you save that coupon code at the end. Then when you do take this self-managed course, that coupon code should be just ready to go. Okay.
Yep. The more you try to learn now, it's going to minimize a lot of the mistakes further down. If you just rather trying to pack full the information like a couple months before you start. Yeah. Just start trying to learn as much as you can now. You can answer that later.
Okay. I was responding to my drafts person.
Okay. Next question.
Josh, you were talking, so I figured I'd get some work done. That's a problem I have, is I can't sit still. Even when I'm on a job, I'm going to pick up a broom.
I know. I was still answering text while you were talking.
So
Okay,
you were doing it too.
No, go.
Can you put the gas meter on the opposite side of the house as the electric panel, or how do you decide where to put it? The electricians, the gas company may make a suggestion for you where it's best to tap into the main on the street. Gas is in the street. It's not in the curb. Meter water is in the curb. Power is beyond the curb. Gas is always going to be in the street. So I don't know where it's going to be best for them. But typically the opposite side of the house is opportune. If you can't, it has to be a certain feet away from the electric panel. And your electrician and your gas guy will know how far that is. It's different in different zones. But I don't like to put it where it can get tripped on or hit by a bike or just about any problem at all like that. So make sure you put it in a spot where it's out of the way. Okay. All right. Okay. Next question. MG, if your building envelope requires fill dirt, where do you get the fill dirt? Is it costly? Will your grading contractor handle it and send you the bill? No and yes. You don't want your excavator to order it because they could do markup on that. Typical fill could be anywhere.
Or you can just ask them if they do markup on it.
Ask them if they do or don't,
Yeah.
and if they just show the receipt.
The receipt, yeah.
If I was an excavator, I would do a markup because I'm carrying that on my own credit.
Mhm.
And so if I'm carrying it on my credit, I'm taking the risk of net 30, and I don't want to do that without some sort of a benefit on the whole thing. I could do a 3 or 5 or 10% markup, and that's pretty standard. But if you want to save that, ask the excavator, where's the local pit meaning gravel pit, and they could have some nice fill there. But if the geotech allows you to do natural fill for your area, you can use what you have there locally. But sometimes, like I'm facing on a job right now, I need clean fill, and so clean fill, believe it or not, is not that easy to find unless you're in a nice agricultural area and there's a lot of silty soils and a lot of clay sills that are easily accessible. But I live in rock country central. So it's really hard to find clean fill. And so look around, hunt around. I just called a pit a couple of days ago and I go, do you guys have any clean fill for a home, for grading and landscaping? No, but we do have some sand, but we don't have any live organic matter in the sand. I go, don't worry about it. Send me 30 tons. And I went to the dump and they have mulch at the dump for $80. So
80 grand.
it's not
$80.
$80. So I got a big, huge trailer full of mulch, and I'll just mix it with the sand while I've got topsoil. So just keep in mind, you don't want to do just organic matter for backfill. That's dangerous. You don't want to go there. But for you, any kind of a compactable soil, like a road base, don't do just a pea gravel. You need a little bit of a fine grit or some clay or silt inside there to help bind that to compact right around the foundation. As you get up top to the landscaping issue, then you can do a sand mix with some organic mix, and then you're fine. But to talk with your geotech, find out what they require, what they recommend, and then see if you can't find that locally anywhere with local pits. Okay. And David B., I'm building my retirement house. Is it good idea to build the first floor with 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and leave the walkout basement unfinished with a bathroom plumbed for the future bedrooms? You can answer that one.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. Wait, what's the?
Yeah.
Oh, is that a good idea? Yeah, because I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
And then just save up to do the basement later. And oh yeah, and thing about basements, I actually hate basements, but if I'm going to do a basement, it's going to be a walkout basement. I love walkout basements. Yeah. I feel like there's always problems with basements though. Yeah. But not walkout basements.
Yeah. I used to think basements were the coolest, but after time and looking at building science, I'm not a fan of them now. I'm more a fan of building up, but basements have a great.
But the walkout basement, that's awesome.
Like I had a student make a comment on a YouTube post. He goes, I live in tornado country. We cannot build without a basement. What are you talking about?
Well, that's a good point.
And they have a safe room in the basement where that's where they all go. So.
But the 2 bedrooms on the main floor, that's awesome too.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, that's great.
That's a good size home.
Okay. A couple more minutes. My wife is worried about VOCs on new house. That's volatile something. It's having to do with new products and materials that get in the air. Toxins in the air. Should I buy different caulking, glues, or just air out the house for 3 months? By the time you're done construction, it will be mostly aired out. Just put some windows and turn them on. Open them up. And I'll turn them on. I'm talking today.
Turn on some windows.
Turn on some windows. No, just air that out and she should be fine. You might want to research and talk to your subcontractors and say, I want to use as much non-toxic materials as I possibly can. I've built homes with people with high sensitivity before. And so a lot of the times, the most sensitive product, believe it or not, is the OSB sheeting. It's got some formaldehyde in the product, and that can be an issue for some people, but that's mostly on the exterior of the home. So if you go with a 2x6 wall and I found that rock wool is my favorite because it can absorb some of that. And so that's a great product. Any kind of natural product on the inside is what you want to go. The inside, I wouldn't worry about it as much, but the outside, I do worry about it. And the other thing to think about is don't put vents anywhere near a window that can open up, because if you're venting stuff outside the home, you don't want to bring it back in. So these are some smart things you can do, but just focus on the inside. That's the most important. And find out and just talk with her. What materials have you known in your life to give you the most bad feedback? Is it plastics, synthetics? Is it glues? Is it moldy mildew stuff? Just find out what it might be, and that might help you during the course of construction. Okay. Squatcha Marley, I hope I said that right. If we are taking your self-management course now, is best way to ask you a question via the comments within the course, or is there an email? Comments with inside the course tied to a specific module. All right. You'll see that I've answered a lot of questions in there, and some of them may be answered for you. If you answer a question tied to a module, then I get an email. I just reply to that module, and then it's saved for everybody else. Mm-hmm. So when they come and see it, it's a real positive approach. So yeah, use that. And then I have the 1 hour consulting, and a lot of students have been using that. And I can schedule that if you have like 30 questions and you want me to look at plans and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's available as well. Mm-hmm. Okay. Jay Miranda, best way to insulate above a vaulted ceiling, vented attic. I used to be a big proponent of ventilating attics. I've backed off on that depending upon where I build and how much airspace I have in it. And if I have some vent in a vaulted ceiling, you may do some baffles, and you can get them in the installation aisle at just about any box store. Just look for ventilation baffles, and it's either a black or tan or white plastic or even a cardboard product. You put it up into the rafters, and there's an air gap of about 1.5 inches inside that baffle, and you take it all the way down to the eave. And if there's some ventilation under the eave, just a little bit, which isn't necessarily good for fires, but if it's a little bit of ventilation, you'll grab that ventilation, it'll come up through the baffle and all the way up through that rafter, and just at the very top of the roof, you could have 1 or 2 vents. And that would actually, and you wouldn't have to take up a lot of space. And then you can pack insulation on top of that baffle. So that's probably the best way if you really need to ventilate that vaulted area. So.
We've got 2 more.
Okay, 2 more we'll take. Building on a slope grade. Customer doesn't want concrete truck to climb the bridge, but go under the creek. Ooh, logistics are difficult. How do you plan for costs for such logistics? They may have to pump the concrete first of all, if they don't want you to.
How do you plan for costs for those logistics?
I don't know. Do you have the height to make it under the bridge?
No, the cost. How do you plan for costs?
Doesn't want concrete truck to climb the bridge, but go under the creek.
Logistics are difficult.
Climb the bridge, but go.
Oh man, I'm trying to answer that. So how do you plan for such costs? You find out what the costs are to make that logistical change. For example,
that doesn't.
building a slope.
We plan for like concrete. That's concrete and lumber. That's the areas that we always go. That can always go over, and that's why in our budget we have like 10% contingencies on top of our concrete bid. Mm-hmm. So make sure when you have the budget from our self-managed course that you are using those contingencies. And if you're in an area where you think you're going to have a lot more concrete, just change the formula so it's not from 10 but maybe 18% or something like that, just in case, just to be safe. And then let the homeowners know, like, hey, we have this extra contingency, hopefully we don't use it, but that's what we do. When we see like steeper drives and stuff like that, we plan for those contingencies.
She answered it better than I did. I just got confused on the bridge thing.
You wanted to answer. You were trying to solve his problem.
And the concrete truck can't go over the wooden structure.
Okay.
So
yeah.
Crossing a creek might require matting. That's a cost.
Okay. All right. Okay. Any of the last one you had?
Yeah, there was one more.
One more?
One month.
Now there's two more.
Okay.
Okay, USO Liberty. Okay, Us of Liberty. Did I say that right? I don't know. Considering Rockwell building in Montana, but is it too costly? A rich man's building material? Not necessarily. Depends on how you design your home. Just check it out.
What's that other product?
Look at Powerwool out of Canada. They're more accessible, and I've seen they had some pretty good prices. Check them out. They're better than they're not as backlogged as Corning or Rockwell. Both of them, those companies are so backlogged right now, it's crazy because it's no longer becoming a rich man's high tech. It's now becoming standard on a lot of homes. Any kind of exterior insulation, it's actually part of the new code. So you're on the right track. It's just research and find out what you can get. And mention you found out about them from How to Build Your Own Home. Okay. All right. We'll take one more question.
Okay.
Charles Keys, SR. Do you have an ADU video? No, I don't, but that would be a really good video to do.
We will
ADU.
I'm going to add that to my notes.
Yeah, add that to your notes. We need to add that. We've talked about stages and building the stages, which is kind of the same thing, but when we'll put that in the hopper. We'll try to do something like that. But anyway, like and take a thumbs up, make a comment, and share. That thumb up really helps for algorithm. And say How to Build Your Own Home is great, something like that. It does all the great stuff. We'll be here again next Thursday, every Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And make sure you go to howtobuildyourownhome.com. It's the best course online for really streamlining it. And keep in mind, you're trying to save the cost of a general contractor. That is the biggest cost savings in being an owner builder. Mm-hmm. And you can go from then on, but keep it focused to that and you're going to be on top of it. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye, guys.
We'll see you guys next Thursday.